permanent encampments in the city centre, an attempt to secure a foothold for much bigger protests in the days ahead. But no one knows whether the people of Ukraine have the desire or the energy to rise up again. Daniel Sanford, BBC News, Moscow.
Well, the BBC's Oleg Boldarev from the BBC Russian service joins me here in the studio. Oleg, I'm just having a look at some of those pictures. There are a lot of people ready to get out on the streets again to try and raise the pressure on the government, on the president in particular. Are they going to have any joy, do you think?
Well, yes, nobody expected them. Even on Friday, a rainy Friday, a handful of people were basically milling around and nothing promised to protest as big as yesterday. So the government is bound to take notice. They're pressurizing the government to step aside. They're saying they've been betrayed. Their hopes of aligning and going to the path of the European Union, not today, not tomorrow, but sometime in the future, have been betrayed. It is bound to have an effect.
Can I ask you what you think was the reason for the position that the government has taken at this stage? Because there's been a period over a course of weeks and months now, okay, it's gone this way and that way a bit, but there was hope within the European Union that actually they were pushing towards a deal.
Well, the Prime Minister of Ukraine went to the Parliament on Friday and he spoke very plainly. He said, look, if we go the European route, the Russia and the customs union that created slaps up the barriers, we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer, our credit rating is going to suffer, and that's going to be too bad for the economy. He's trying to sell it as a purely economical thing. Trouble is, the people who come out in the streets, they don't see the pure digits. They want the aspiration. They want some hope that Ukraine will come closer to the values and, well, the banners of Europe, as they say.
Well, look, just stay with us for the moment, because I think we can now speak to Olесі Oробець, who's an opposition MP from the Batkivshnia party in Ukraine. Excuse me, Olесі Oробець, thank you very much for joining us. What do you think these protests can actually achieve?
Hello. Thank you so much for putting your attention to this topic. Yesterday in Kyiv, 100,000 people joined the protests, and their main goal is to get the association agreement signed. And protests will and are to continue till Vilnius summit. Moreover, thousands of people are on Maidans in many cities all over the country as well as abroad. So our main task is to get the association agreement signed.
Right. The problem is the government doesn't want it now, the president doesn't want it, and however many people you put out on the streets, it doesn't look like there's much time left to change it.
You're quite right. However, we do see that the association agreement still can be saved. Technically, we need only extraordinary parliament session to adopt laws for Euro integration. Second, President Yanukovych coming to Vilnius and signing. In terms of political action, what we do need first is massive civil protests already done, and second, please hear me properly, not just claims from European leaders regarding personal sanctions against corrupted high officials in Ukraine.
Right, we're just talking about individuals, as you brought up there. Yulia Tymoshenko, of course, who remains in prison, the former leader of your opposition and, of course, former Prime Minister. She has written from behind bars some very strong messages to the President, challenging him to change his mind and to agree to the association agreement. Do you think those sorts of comments at this stage are helpful or, in fact, a hindrance to your bid to get closer to the EU?
I can say that European peoples and Ukrainian people support the brave position of Tymoshenko. However, we should bear in mind that the responsibility for not signing the association agreement is in the hands of a single person, President Yanukovych.
Right, but my point is, the more that she says you must do this to the president, isn't it the more likely he's going to ignore that?
He cannot ignore his citizens, that's number first, and he cannot ignore the position of Europe, which is opening the doors that could have been closed weeks and months before. However, we do here in Kyiv hope that the agreement still can be saved, so there's still room for negotiation and public and non-public negotiations to take place to get the association agreement signed. This is what is believed in Kyiv.
Olесі Olesi Oробець, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, Oleg, maybe I can come back to you on what you've heard there. Do you think there's any chance at all that there can be a change of heart?
Well, the Ukrainian authorities still may be open to change their position, not radically, but certainly that's what the demonstrators are hoping for. It's interesting, the mood in Russia, one of the leading Russian opposition figures wrote today saying that even if Ukrainians stick to this customs unions with Russia, Russia will not gain anything out of it. It will effectively subsidize Ukrainian economy to the tune of billions of dollars. But at the first opportunity to change its course and go back to Europe, Viktor Yanukovych is very likely to do so.
So what Russia gets is the sphere of influence being maintained, I presume.
Well, again, but the Russian opposition is saying, you know, this is not a long-term solution. This is something. This is a patch-up, essentially. You know, this is a short-term solution for Ukraine.
Oleg, thank you very much indeed for that. And the United